Welcome, everyone, to today's session on resilience through mindfulness.
Welcome to this session. I work for the Kidney Foundation in Montreal. I'm happy to introduce you to our guests. Charles is a survivor. He received 2 transplants, a heart and a kidney. He lives in Ontario. He's the father of 2 young adults. At every opportunity, he shares the story of his odyssey and the lessons he's garnered in the hope of sharing them with parents who are traveling the same path. He spends his time volunteering with numerous organizations, including the ACB Oregon Health Youth Channel Advisory Committee, the Transplant Ambassador Program, the Cancer CKD Network, as well as the Waterloo Wellington Chapter and the Board of Directors of the Ontario Division of the Kidney Foundation. We also welcome Mona Ben Mrad. He graduated in medicine and nephrology from the Université de Paris in France in 2005. She holds a clinical nephrologist in Paris. She was a clinical nephrologist in Paris, rather, from 2005 to 2012. Since 2013 in the Greater Montreal area. She's also an associate professor at the Université de Sherbrooke and participates in the ethics curriculum and teaches medical students. She developed a passion for mind-body medicine to help chronic kidney disease patients and healthcare professionals cope with stress and anxiety. To this end, she recently enrolled in a PhD program in mental health at McGill University under the supervision of Dr. Soham Rej, a psychiatrist specializing in mind-body medicine, as well as Dr. Rita Suri, a renowned clinical researcher in nephrology. Her upcoming research projects will focus on technology, enhanced exercise, virtual reality. Her main areas of interest include mindfulness, meditation, yoga, tai chi, and sophrology. Let's hear it from Dr. Mrad.
Thank you, Philippe, for the kind introduction. So we are going to talk about mindfulness and compassion. Next slide, please. Yes, those are my disclosures. And next, please. This is my land acknowledgement. Next. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the art of paying attention. It's the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. It is also simply being aware of what is happening in the now without wishing it were different. There are a lot of benefits of mindfulness, which are evidence-based. I will show you some proofs of that, but I will give you for now a small list so you can have an idea. Mindfulness can help us be more flexible. It can help us increase our focus when we work, when we study. It contributes to better mental and physical health, better emotional well-being. And interestingly, it can change the relationship with the pain. So it has been used as a tool for chronic pain. Of course, first step is to go and see your healthcare provider to determine the source, the origin of the pain. And then to deal with chronic pain, it's a very useful tool. It can also help us respond rather than react. For example, if I feel, let's say, infuriated against my kid or my partner, mindfulness helps me to pause, to take a breath, stop, take a step back, and then maybe come back with a better response than just snapping with frustration and anger. Very interestingly, if you are in the now with the mindfulness, you can get out from the ruminations about the past and the anxious projections about the future. So this is why it helps reduce stress and anxiety. And this is how we can achieve a little bit more happiness and maybe balance. So next slide, please. So those were the benefits. Next. So meditation has been around since a very long time. Actually, people are meditating maybe since 5 or 6,000 years. It all began in India with mainly with yoga. And then it developed around several religions, Buddhism, but now it is secularized in our society. Closer to us, in the 13th century, there was a Persian poet, Rumi, who wrote very beautiful poems which help with mindfulness. For example, this one, this is the guest house, and it is about embracing any emotion coming our way, meaning that pleasant or unpleasant emotions can be welcomed in our mind, in ourselves, like in the guest house, and then after that we can let them go. So I told you a lot about the benefits of mindfulness, but maybe you are interested in why. What is the mechanism? If you want to know more in a fun way, I recommend that you have a look at that documentary. It is available on the Office national du film du Canada. Last time I checked, it was free. I hope it is still free. And Isabelle Reynaud has followed the work of several teams around North America. And those teams are teams of neuroscientists who study the brain of people who are meditating. Here you can see a researcher from the University of Montreal who is putting specialized gear on the head of a Carmelite nun, and she's going to enter in a meditative state through prayer. And I'm going to show you in a few slides what really happens in the brain while people meditate. Well, mindfulness can change the structure of the brain, and this is called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity, next slide, sorry. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to physically change due to learning and experience. Meaning, when you engage in a behavior over and over again, let's say you play a new instrument or you play a new sport or you meditate, you create new connections in your brain. And because you are doing it over and over again, those connections grow stronger. Next, please. So another fun way to learn more about how the structure of the brain changes with mindfulness and meditation is to look at this short YouTube video of Dr. Lazar, who is also a neuroscientist in Boston, studying the effects of meditation on the brain. Next, please. So I summarize some of the findings, mainly of Dr. Lazar. So here, it's a study of meditators, long-term meditators, aged 50 years and plus, who will like meditating since a long time. And she studied the brain of those people and compared the imagery she obtained with the one of people who were not meditating at all. And she is showing here that this very particular part of the brain that we call the prefrontal cortex, and which is just behind here or forefront, and which is involved in working memory, executive decision making, it grows thicker. Next, please. And very interestingly, those people who were meditating since a long time, they were not young. They were like 50 years old and plus. And she looked at the thickness of the brain and compared it to people who were younger, 25 years old. And it was as thick, meaning that meditation practice may prevent or slow down the normal brain aging. Next, please. This neuroscientist, Dr. Lazar, she also looked at what happens if you do only a short meditation program. So she took people who have never meditated before. Those people got enrolled in an 8-week mindfulness program, and they were scanned before and after the program. And she found the same things. Some specific parts of the brain grew thicker. For example, the hippocampus, which is very important for learning, memory, and emotional regulation. Next, please. Another important part which grew thicker is this part called the temporoparietal junction. It's just here above the ear, and it's very important for perspective taking, empathy, and compassion. Next, please. And lastly, but also very importantly, we have a part in our brain which is very primitive. It is the amygdala. This amygdala is responsible of the fight or flight reaction in our brain, like under the anger when we snap at our kids or partners. Well, this part of the brain shrinks with mindfulness. Next, please. So I hope that this is tempting for you to try to know more and how to meditate in our daily life. Well, there are a lot of ways of meditating, and if you want to dive in very quickly, you can find on YouTube a lot of guided meditations, and you can choose the one which suits you best. So if you look at body scan or breathing meditation, you will find a lot of things. Personally, that's exactly what I do. I have chosen one or two on YouTube which are appealing to me. So during meditation, we try to concentrate, we try to focus on an object. Ideally, this object is a bodily sensation. It can be the breath, it can be some noises around us, it can be also a visual cue. We could also like concentrate on something like a candle, but we can also meditate while moving, walking, or doing some movements in a very mindful way, such as yoga or Tai Chi. And there are a lot of ways to mindfully to enter in mindfulness while brushing our teeth, washing the dishes, or showering. That means that instead of, I don't know, ruminating something that happened in the past, we could just try to concentrate on the sensation of the warm water on our skin or any other sensation. And there are a lot of other ways of meditating. And now I'm going to talk a little bit more about compassion. Next slide, please. So this is very important to me, introducing compassion and self-compassion. Self-compassion has been coined by Christine Neff and Dr. Germer almost more than 10 years ago. Next slide, please. So you all know what compassion is, because I'm pretty sure you are all experiencing compassion very often. It's the recognition and the clear seeing of suffering in others. It's when you feel kindness for someone that you love who is suffering. It may be your child, it may be anyone, and then emerges the desire to help this person. Next slide, please. Self-compassion is turning this same compassion towards yourself. And this is very challenging for a lot of people, because usually we have a harsh, critical inner voice which can prevent from doing so. So having self-compassion means treat yourself as you will treat a close friend who is suffering. And you can do so whatever the cause of the suffering, even if it is a mistake that you have made and you are ashamed of, or maybe a feeling of inadequacy, a life struggle, a health challenge that you are experiencing. Next slide, please. There are three core components to self-compassion. The first one is kindness. So it is reducing this harsh and critical inner voice. The second one is connectedness. What do we mean by that? It means that sometimes we have this false belief that we are experiencing a hardship or a life struggle because there is something wrong with us. And all the other people are fine, are having the good life, and are kind of perfect. And this is a total misconception because all human beings experience pain and suffering, and it's normal to be imperfect, and we are perfectly imperfect. So when we feel connected with this sense of common humanity, then we feel less alienated, less isolated by our suffering. And the third main component is mindfulness, because we need to be aware in the present moment of our pain, whatever is that pain, maybe emotional, mental pain, or physical pain. So let's not ignore it, recognize it, and then we can alleviate it and we can achieve a more balanced awareness. Next slide, please. So putting together compassion and mindfulness has been done in this program called the Compassionate Mindful Resilience Program. It has been designed by Mindfulness UK and it has been studied at Queen's University, Belfast, in several different populations. I put here one of the studies specifically in adults living with chronic kidney disease. So some of these people were living with hemodialysis, some of them had a kidney transplant, and they all did this program, which is a short program. It's 4 weeks, it's 10 minutes, the meditations. So it's very doable. It's very, very feasible. And it has shown a pretty good result. So I'm part of an international group working on compassion and mindfulness. The leader is Professor Helen Noble in the UK. And we are thinking about adapting this to Canada. So I hope that we will go further on this path. And of course, I will let know the Kidney Foundation of Canada of how it could be maybe offered in, and we really, really hope that we will find funding to have a free program to offer soon. Next slide. So cultivating mindfulness and compassion increases emotional intelligence and help us achieve resilience. Next slide. We talk a lot about resilience, and maybe you would like to know more about this word. Interestingly, it comes from the word of the mechanics of materials. Actually, a material which is resilient is a material which can endure an impact, a shock, a blow, a falling body without being broken. So it's the capacity of this material through its elasticity to go back to its former state. So this word has come a long way because this is a definition from the 19th century. And during the 20th century, this word has been in the field of psychology. And now it means the ability to cope psychologically, emotionally, when there is a crisis. And it also means the ability to go back to your former state when you were okay and balanced. And it has been popularized by psychologists in the 80s who studied during 40 years a population of children who experienced a lot of hardship. And she discovered that some of these kids, although they have been through a lot, had a very beautiful life once they were adults, like they were autonomous, balanced, and all this refers to the fact that inside ourselves we can find resources, we can find tools to cope and to overcome even the hardest hardship of life. Next slide, please. So those are my take-home messages. I hope that I give you the will to look further about mindfulness and compassion as tools to develop resilience. Of course, it's not for everybody. Maybe you will try and you won't like it. There are a lot of other ways to develop resilience. There are also sometimes some adverse events which may occur during a meditation practice. Sometimes we can feel very agitated, sometimes we can have unpleasant emotions, especially people who have been through trauma. Still, there is no perfect tool, there is no magical pill. So if you are interested, I will be happy to do a small practice after the conversation that we will have with Charles. And a few take-home messages about the benefits. So there are benefits on mental and physical health, but also more generally, it can help in our relationships with others and with ourselves through the development of compassion and self-compassion. It also is helpful for better focus and productivity. And there are a lot of studies showing a lot of benefit in stress, anxiety, and depressive symptoms. Next slide. So I want to thank the Kidney Foundation of Canada to give me this opportunity to talk, and also all the people who are supporting me since a very long time, and all the people I'm collaborating with on the research on mindfulness. So we will do a mindfulness practice later. For now, let's talk a little bit with Charles. So this is the end of the slideshow.
Sure. This was a great lead in. I didn't expect this part to happen, but almost 10 years to the or 20 years to the day, March 9th, 2005, I was driving home from work and I had a massive right brain ischemic stroke, which wiped out the entire left side of my body. So all those pictures of the brain that you were showing brought back a lot of memories. And during my recovery, I worked with a neurologist, and he told me there are three things that will help you get back to where you were. First is your attitude, that counts the most. Second is your age, because this happened at age 36. And then the other is how much you had to work with before you had the stroke. So attitude was something that I could control. You know, I've always tried to be a positive person, not positive like happy, you know, all sunshine and rainbows, but positive that I am positive that I'm going to get through this. Whatever gets thrown at me, I will find a way to get past it. I actually have a two-word motto in life called keep banging. Life puts obstacles in all of our paths. Our job is to keep banging at the one directly in front of us until we knock it down. Then we move on to the next one, because there's always going to be a next one. So you never give up, no matter how bad the odds are. You just hang in there and keep banging. So if you guys listening don't get anything else out of this, then please remember that. So after the stroke, it was caused by a heart condition that I was born with called HCM. It ran in my family. On my mom's side, she had it, gave it to me. Her mom had it, gave it to her. I was born with it, didn't know that I had it till I was 17. And then nothing really happened until I had that stroke coming home from work. So after I recovered from the stroke, it took 14 months. And then this was back down in Georgia, where I was born and raised. I was married to a woman from Ontario, and that's how I got to Canada. So once I recovered, we moved here in the summer of 2006. Since I've been in Canada, I live in the Kitchener-Waterloo area of Ontario. Got really familiar with Toronto General Hospital. I was being monitored there because the HCM basically caused my heart to become muscle bound on the left side, the left ventricular side, which is your pumping side of your heart. And the left ventricle in my heart just got so thick that at one point it couldn't contract anymore. So that made me go into heart failure. And Toronto General does the end stage or heavy lifting on end stage heart failure. I had been sent down there for months I was also monitored by a cardiologist here in KW. And one day, January, which is 10 years ago, now I went in for a regular checkup, didn't get to go home for 100 days. They did a stress test, which showed that my heart had worn out to the point that I needed a transplant. Then they did a second test, which showed that there was so much pressure inside my chest at that time that it was unsafe for me to receive a transplant. So the doctors decided to give me a helper for my heart called an LVAD, left ventricular assist device, which was a mechanical pump that would be attached to my heart that could take over the work that my heart could no longer do on its own. So we went into surgery that morning. The doctor began the surgery. He opened up my chest. He started to attach the device, and my heart stopped. All right. Cardiac massage makes my heart start beating on its own again. Goes a little bit further. Heart stops again. Cardiac massage brings me back to life. He's able to finish implanting the device. But then when they go to close me up, they can't stop the bleeding. They tell me I was in the OR for hours afterwards, receiving transfusion after transfusion. Because as soon as they put the blood in, it just leaked right back out. Once they finally got me stabilized and into recovery, they realized that I suffered from two major complications. One of which that from all of that blood loss, my kidneys ran dry for too long. They wound up dying. And then what the doctors thought the best thing to do would be to put me on hemodialysis right away, hoping that the boost from the hemodialysis would give my kidneys a little spark they needed to come back to life. But they never did. And I was on hemodialysis from January, which is the date of the heart surgery, all the way until October of 2017 when I received my kidney transplant, and did in-center home hemo, and then got my transplant. Actually got my heart transplant in April of 2016. And then I got my kidney in October 2017. So I got involved with the Kidney Foundation in between those. After my heart transplant in 2016, I was being trained to do home hemo, and the nurses in the unit said, "Hey, you should take part in the kidney walk." And I said, "The kidney walk?" And they said, "Well, you raise money, you come out, walk with a bunch of people, and all it goes to the Kidney Foundation for research and programs and that to make life better for people living with kidney disease." So I did that and actually had raised the money. And on the weekend that I was supposed to do the kidney walk, I actually had gone down to Toronto General for just regular checkup. And they thought that my AV catheter had an infection in it. So they kept me in the hospital for that week, which included the kidney walk. I was going crazy. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. I feel great kind of thing. And wound up actually going into one of the labs and got on the treadmill and did the kidney walk on that, because my friends had donated money in my name and I didn't want to let them down. And that was how I started with the Kidney Foundation. Then after that, I spoke the next year at the kidney kickoff because at that time I was still needing a kidney. And then I joined the branch, the Waterloo, Wellington, and District branch leadership board. This was back in 2018. And then in 2019, I became director at large for the Kidney Foundation, board of directors for the Ontario branch. I guess in there, I forgot that in 2017, after a kidney walk, I was interviewed by a local station here in town on the news, just, saying, the kidney walk helps people who are living with kidney disease. I've taken part in it for a couple years now, and I myself am in need of a kidney transplant. And that was on a Saturday or a Sunday, but that next weekend I got the call for my kidney. Didn't work out. I'd done home hemo for 15 months straight, never missed a day. 5 days a week, I was patient, nurse, dialysis tech, all rolled into one. And I thought I'd done everything right. So it didn't work out. I was very disappointed, but my wife was with me and she said, think about the person who did get your kidney, and that flipped the switch in me. So I got home and just went back to doing my home hemo. And then literally 2 weeks later to the day, got the call back again, the second time, went down, and everything worked out. And that's kind of the short version of this. Feel free to ask any questions or add in there.
Wow. You can do a whole Netflix series with that. Charles.
Exactly. I'm trying to keep it brief because I know we only have a limited amount of time.
I'm so impressed because I know you. You told me about a lot of things, but I didn't know everything. And yeah, you're a real survivor. It's fantastic that you are here. It's a real miracle.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And so I have some questions for you. I would like to know, do you remember what were the most difficult emotions and feelings through this journey, especially around the period when you crashed on hemodialysis without any preparation?
Yeah, that's an excellent place to start. I usually say that my kidney journey began as an unplanned side trip to my heart journey because I knew I had heart issues since I was 17. Kidneys, there was nothing wrong with them, just bad luck. Things went wrong in that heart surgery, the first LVAD surgery. And I say first because I had that surgery, everything went wrong. I was down in CVICU for almost 7 weeks, got out of there, and I was actually in the hospital for 100 days straight from the date that I was admitted to the date that I was discharged. Got home for 3 weeks, then went back and had to do it all over again. So I had two LVADs before I got my heart transplant and then my kidney transplant. So when I woke up in recovery, out of CVICU, I was expecting to have the electrical cord hanging out of my belly going to a thing called the wall unit, which plugged into the wall like a lamp, and that was a charging station for the LVAD, the left ventricular assist device, because my heart ran on electricity, which sounds kind of weird, but that was what I was prepared for. What I was not prepared for was looking down, seeing these two plastic tubes coming out of my chest, going to this machine I've never seen before. I'm kind of like, that stuff's red, it looks like blood. Is that my blood? What's going on? And they explained to me, unfortunately, that I lost my kidney function during surgery and I was now on dialysis. I had no idea what dialysis was. Um, the only person I'd ever known to be on dialysis was my mom's mom, my grandma. And I had this weird thing. I only took her to dialysis once because I was a little kid, kind of went along with probably my uncle, I guess, that took her to the dialysis station. And she showed me her arm and it had, a fistula in it. And I swear, because I know this is absolutely not true, but in my little kid brain, you could see like the markings like you see on a syringe. I'm like, dialysis turns people into robots. I don't want a fistula. I don't want to do this. So the shock of being on dialysis was one thing. Then the next thing I felt was anger. Then I was confused. And then I was frustrated. I was angry because I don't think you guys told me that my kidneys were involved, or at risk with this heart surgery. That was the confusing part was you're operating on my heart, which is in my chest. My kidneys, I didn't even know about. The only thing I knew about kidneys were boxers wore kidney belts because you can't punch people in the back. That's illegal. And then I was very frustrated because there's nothing I could do about it. Just this is my new world. Wasn't expecting it. And as soon as I was ambulatory, which is one of my favorite medical terms, I just shuffled myself out of my bed, walked into the next room, the patient's room. They didn't know who I was. I didn't know who they were. But I was just, hey, you will not believe what happened to me since I've been here. This is crazy. And they listened to me kindly. And then they said, well, listen to me. And I was like, wait a minute. Okay, obviously, I'm not the first person who's had things not go according to plan. And the way my mind works is you obviously found a way to deal with your situation because you're sitting here talking to me, which means you're still alive. And if you can do that, I can do that. And I'm not alone. And that was the first thing that I felt was different because I'd been to the hospital, I'd had a bunch of checkups and that stuff, and had been able to go home. So this time was very different because they're like, we're keeping you right now. And then so that was the different. And then the alone was, oh my God, I'm the first person that's ever had to deal with this kind of stuff. So just talking to that patient, gave me a strange sense of comfort that I wanted to pass on, whenever I talk to other patients from then on, which is you are not alone in this journey. And if I can do it, you can do it, because I'm just a guy who decided not to quit, from the beginning and have had a lot of stuff thrown at me. But thanks to that keep banging motto, I'm still here, able to sit here and talk to you today. So.
Well, that's extraordinary because you're kind of a living example of what the compassion of this person you met and the self-compassion that you had towards yourself, like recognizing that you are not the first one, you won't be the last one, you can make it as others, like you are such a brave example of the theory I just brought in before. So I'm very happy to see that in a way, spontaneously, you found the tools by yourself. So there's a question in the Q&R, and that was exactly the question I wanted to go to, is how would you define the proper emotional support that you found or didn't find and would like to find for the future for others? Are there some routines that you have created that helped, or have you found specific support, some other stuff? Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. First off, I have to say, just like Justin said yesterday, and I love hearing him talk, is I'm just me, so that's first of all, nothing special. I'm just Charles. As far as the support goes, there's no way that I could make it, by myself. I like to think that I'm a tough guy and all that, but there's the doctors, the nurses, the specialists, all that. But my wife was my rock. She still is to this day. So having that family support, that partner that's in there with you in the trenches. And then the other thing is peer support. Talking to other people who have been along this journey, because who knows what you're going through than somebody who's already been through it themselves. So those are the two, biggest supports that I have.
I see. I see. Mhm. And what were the most helpful strategies for you that you discovered throughout your journey?
For me now, let's see, I guess there was a big shift in my brain and outlook going from in-center hemodialysis to home hemo, because in-center, I was very much out of control. People say I do dialysis here, dialysis there. None of us do dialysis in center. We have dialysis done unto us because you have no choice. You have no say so in the matter to tell you when to come in, where to sit, what pump speed, your machine's running at and all that, and when to go home. But on hemodialysis, it was such a big shift for me in a positive way because I became patient, nurse, dialysis tech all roll into one. It was very empowering. I did it 5 days a week, 5 hours a day, including setup and breakdown time. And my average run was 3 to 3.5 hours. So being able to do that was fantastic. Having that routine, I just called it my part-time job because that's what it was. It was a part-time job that kept me alive, and I was actively participating in my own recovery. That was what I needed to do, to get to my kidney transplant. And I think that's another thing, is that I went into this as dialysis is just, kind of a stop along my journey. I had that attitude, like I said at the beginning, the positive attitude that I'm positively going to get through this, that this isn't the end for me. So I think having that mindset and having people to support you in that mindset instead of, oh, poor you, you're on dialysis. No, do your dialysis, keep yourself in shape with your walking. And I always tell people, get your head right and keep your body ready. Your head is staying positive, staying focused, have your goal in mind that you're going to get that kidney transplant, either living donor or deceased donor, which is what I went through. But if I ever had to do it again, I would definitely go living donor because I've learned, the benefits of that. And hearing the talk earlier today about how to find a living donor, I at least have somewhere to start, if it comes down to it. Um, and then keeping your body ready is doing your dialysis, taking your medication. I know it is not fun. And I was on 23 different medications at this point in my life. And keeping those straight, was part of the job. It was, I think Justin again said it yesterday, is that you sign up, for a lifetime contract once you get your transplant to take these medications every day for the rest of your life. But I always say it's a small price to pay to have a rest of your life. So that's kind of what the routine was that I got into. And I
Mhm.
hope that answered the question. If
Oh yeah,
not, then
totally,
yeah.
totally. What I hear, what answers so precisely to the question is that first, I hear that you were seeking for empowerment
Yes,
through
absolutely.
getting out of the in-center hemodialysis and get into home hemodialysis. I
Yep.
hear that this was the most empowering thing that could happen during the dialysis journey.
Yep.
And I love that because when we are sick, we feel a loss of control. And this is terrifying for a human being. This is one of the most terrifying things that can happen. And I love that you went to learn the technique, because it's not easy. There's a lot to learn here. And you just had a stroke. Remember, you had a stroke. You had huge surgery. You were half dead, but you found
That's one way
everything
to
in
put it.
yourself,
Yeah.
isn't it?
No, I have a good story about the hemodialysis, because I don't want to, make it sound like that I was mistreated or anything, because Grand River was my hospital, and it is, I'm a proud graduate of the renal program there. I, love everybody there, and in center everyone was great to me. They were very supportive. But it just wasn't for me. I had a bad experience as far as with my body. I was on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I would come home and just feel like a wrung out dish rag. I just get on the couch and just want to sleep. And then the next day, on my Tuesdays and Thursdays, all I was doing was trying to gather up enough energy to go back in and make myself feel bad all over again. So when the option for home hemo came along, it was kind of, anything's got to be better than this, so I'll give it a shot. And it wound up working out. And I think some people talked about it yesterday, is that they've made renovations to our home and electricity, and then the water supply was good. So that's a constant reminder. Those conduits are still out in the hallway, and I see them every day, and that makes me thankful, for what I have, that I've gotten through it. But a reminder that things could change and I could go back. But if they do, I'll be ready for it. Now, my story about home hemo was this. So they said, okay, you're going to be a home hemo patient. Your training is up on the 7th floor at Grand River, and it's 4 to 6 weeks. So I remember going in that first day, and and we trained Monday through Friday. And the first day, the nurses kind of do the same as they do down in center, and they set up the machine, did all this stuff, and I'm like, okay. But I'm watching, I'm like, this is complicated. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this. And you got to remember, at this time, I'm still running, on batteries for my heart. I still have my LVAD. So I'm watching them, and I'm like, I don't know. I was very skeptical. But went Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm there, and I'm like, you know what? If I listen to what they're trying to teach me and I learn what I'm supposed to learn, I bet you I can get this. So 4 weeks later, so this is week 5, the nurses come to me and say, hey, we're thinking about sending you home next week. And I said, all right, that sounds good to me. And this is like Monday, is the plan is to go home next week. So on Friday, they said, here's the deal. Go home, enjoy your weekend, come back on Monday. We'll do a final check run with you, make sure you're doing everything right. And then on Tuesday, we'll have a machine, sent to your home. A nurse will come out with you. You guys will do your home hemo together for the first run at home. And then everything goes well with that. Then Wednesday, you're flying solo. And at that point, as far as we know, I would have become the world's first LVAD home hemo patient. But it didn't work out that way, because that was Friday. I leave. Hey, you guys have a good weekend. I'll see you on Monday. And my wife got up and went to work on Saturday morning, and the phone rang, and it was, Mr. Cook, it's Toronto General. We think we got a heart for you. Why don't you come on down? And I'm like, there's no way. They found a heart for me already, because they told me it's going to be 2 to 3 years. And it was only 9 months at the time that I got the phone call. So I literally sat down on the bed and I said, is this call legit? Or are you telling me the truth? And they said, yes, we are telling you the truth. Get yourself down here as quickly and safely as possible. And it went through. So, so that is why I didn't become the world's first home hemo, LVAD patient, because I got my heart transplant. Then, unfortunately, because I hadn't finished that Monday, Tuesday, my training wasn't technically done. So I had to wait until that summer to go back to get a spot and do a refresher course in my home hemo. And then, it started the first week of July. And then by the end of July, I was at home doing it, on my own, and everything worked out really well. So just thought I'd throw that in there, because I love that story. And hats off to all the people who helped train me. It was fantastic, and all the support I had for the whole time that I was doing it. Yeah.
Great. I think we still have 3 minutes. So in these 3 minutes, what are the most important messages you want to convey to nephrologists, to nurses, and to patients?
All right. Let's see. With nephrologists, take your time with the patients, come around and make sure that we can ask our questions. And the patients have your questions ready, because we don't know all this stuff. We just know what people tell us, and we're looking to you as a nephrologist to have our best interests in mind. We're a team. I have to have faith in you that your interests are my best interests. And if we're working as a team, I get to say something, whether it's good or bad or right for me or wrong. For nurses, good nurses make the world go round. They did for me what I couldn't do for myself. So thank you. And then for patients, again, if I can do this, you can do this. I'm just a guy sitting here, and whatever I can do to help out, that's it. Talk to other patients, find somebody that's been through it. They're the best source of information, best source of support. And finally, keep banging. That's it. One day at a time, one obstacle at a time.
Well, I very much like that you are talking about time. I think that the future of nephrology involves taking more time with patients and giving more resources to information, to education, to empower patients exactly as you have been empowered, mainly by yourself, but also you are highlighting the help of very precious healthcare professionals that were around you. And I hear also that you had a lot of support from your wife, from some other patients. And I can hear that you want to give back this support to other patients.
That's
And
absolutely it. I
yeah,
received two gifts of life that I can never pay back, so I got to do whatever I can to try to pay them forward. That's why I'm sitting here talking to you today. This is part of it. And hopefully somebody listening to us gets something out of this conversation they can use to help make their journey a little bit smoother, than the one I had. And if that happens, then this is well worth it.
I also love the fact that you talked about a positive attitude, but personally, I'm not very, I don't really like, always thinking positive. But I love in what you say that you are more an optimistic, who is also very realistic. Like you kind of try to see what is positive in the situation, but you also recognize all the complexity, all the feelings, because you are sharing a lot of feelings and emotions. And we can see that there are a lot of mixed feelings. There are also unpleasant feelings, but you are able to go through that and you are able to have perspective and to see what will happen best in the future. So I know that Philippe needs to take back the mic. I really want to thank you, Charles. This is so enlightening. You
It's
are
my
my
pleasure. This is
hero.
what I do.
You are my
Nothing
hero.
better than
I
having a
really
good
admire you.
conversation with a good friend. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So I think Philippe wants to take the mic, and then I will do the mindfulness practice.
Merci à vous deux pour cette magnifique
Thank you both
conversation
for
et
that
toutes les
wonderful
informations
conversation and all the
que vous avez
information and
apportées.
the tools that you've shared
Effectivement,
with
maintenant,
us.
Mona, je
Indeed, now
recède la parole
Mona,
pour
I
l'exercice
give
de
the floor back to
méditation.
you for our mindfulness exercise.
So I invite you for a short meditation practice if you want to. This is not mandatory at all. And by the way, there was a quick question in the Q&R box. Someone asked how we should practice, how much in the week, what will give the benefits. This is a very good question. There is no unique answer. What I will say is that the more regular you can be, the best is. But if it is only 1 minute or 3 minutes or 5 minutes each day which work for you, it's going to be good. So you have to find what works for you. If it is 15 minutes, it is 15 minutes. But the most important thing is regularity. So we are going to do a very short practice so you can have a sense of that, not more than 5 minutes. So now I invite you in a safe space. So you don't need to change anything about how you're feeling like right now. Just allow yourself to settle into this moment. So if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Otherwise, just keep a soft gaze, a little bit downward. Maybe try to look at your feet and try to find a comfortable position. So you might want to keep your back somewhat straight, but not too stiff. And maybe slightly tuck your chin because that stretches the vertebra at the top of your spine. And you can let your hands rest gently in your lap. So now, with your eyes closed, try to concentrate on your body. Try to see the image of your body. Try to feel the weight of your body in your seat and the way your chair is supporting you. So as we are settling in our body, we want to concentrate on a bodily sensation. We want to concentrate on our breath. There is no need to change anything in your breath. You just want to observe it. You just want to feel your breath. While breathing, let's observe and feel that the air entering our nostrils is a little bit cooler because it comes from the outside. And then there is some warmth in our nostrils. You feel your chest rising, your abdomen inflating, and then while exhaling, when the breath comes out, you can feel maybe that the air is a little bit warmer. After a few breaths, I invite you now to bring your awareness to your feet. Your feet are on the ground, so maybe just look at the sensation in your shoes, if you have some shoes, or maybe your socks. What do you feel? Is it soft? Is it tingling? And your feet are on the ground, and maybe concentrate on the fact that the earth is supporting you. If it helps, imagine some roots connecting your feet to the earth and try to feel the beautiful energy of the earth supporting your feet. Now that you see your feet are as a deep connection with earth, come back to your breath. And I invite you to breathe again, one last time. And then when you are ready, you can open your eyes. And I congratulate you because you have meditated for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much to those who have participated in this session.